Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
Good morning. What's happening, everybody? I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Life podcast. How to operate from an abundant life. This topic it's a learning process. Every day that I speak on this topic, I'm learning from speaking on it. So I just want you to know that when a lot of these messages that I get to speak about, it's because of what God is actually helping me to learn. So today I had a learning take place, already this morning. It's literally just early in the morning, and I had a learning take place. I want to share that with you of how to operate from an abundant life. And so as I was sleeping, it's crazy, right? Because, everything that we do, everything that we say, everything that we think, everything that we plan to do, everything that we desire to do, everything that we are dreaming about doing and hoping and wishing to do, God has already saw. He's seen everything. And, I recently heard of this concept of how God sees us. God sees us not from a straight line, but from a circle. Think about a circle. A circle is, everything always comes back around in a circle, as opposed to a line. A line, you go, it's kind of like if you were thinking about, your plans, if you were thinking about goals, they say, hey, you got to go to the end. And we look, and I guarantee you, because I've done this, I look at that as going down a line, as opposed to the way God sees it. God sees everything in a circle, so that everything just comes back to where it's supposed to be anyway. So as we are, learning how to operate from an abundant life, it's actually learning how God listens to us, learning what God knows about us. And before you even can think about it, before you even can ask God, he's presenting something to you. And I had something weird happen this morning. I wake up, got dressed, got myself together, thanking God for being awake, thanking God for being here today. And, I'm getting my coffee and I'm getting out to go to the gym. And I saw that a text message. Text message comes in at 4:11 a.m. this morning. I wasn't up yet. I wasn't out of the bed yet, but my body tends to wake up, and I tend to, when I wake up at that hour, I tend to say thank you anyway, or I may just start talking to God as I'm laying there, not fully awake, but I start talking to God. And I know I was talking to God, and I was crying out. Like, have you ever cried out in the morning? I was crying out. And it's so interesting because 4:11 this morning, the text comes in. I didn't see it until 6:45. I saw it, and then it wasn't until I got into the gym, and I'm looking at it, and I saw a text that one of the elders at my church, young elder. He's actually, I guess Jonathan, maybe 30 or something like that. I'm not sure if he's 30 yet, but he's young. And he sends a text to me and my whole family. And the text is a verse. He says, you know what? I was inclined to send this to you and the family. And it's a verse found in Psalm chapter 116. I'm just going to read it. It says, I love the Lord because he hath heard my voice and my supplications, because he hath inclined his ear unto me. Therefore, I will call upon him as long as I live. Do you know I was calling upon God at that hour? And here it was. The answer, you know how in Proverbs 16:1, the preparations of the heart and man, the answer of the tongue comes from the Lord. The answer came before I'd called. The answer came before I could even do anything. Isaiah in chapter 65 in verse 24 says, I think it's verse 24 says, and it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. God is, and I don't know what messages you get from God. I'm getting a text message this morning from God saying, hey, son, I hear you. Keep going. Hey, son, don't get worried. Don't get weary. Keep going. Hey, son, I'm listening for you. Keep going. You know, some years ago when I was coming under the Spirit of God, I was in I was in I was in Detroit, and I was at a friend of mine. I was staying with a friend of mine, Rodney Cooper, and we were hanging out. We were doing network marketing together. So I'm in town, spending the weekend. You know, we're having some good old, just having good old time, just doing life together. And I remember we were at church, and I can't remember what happened, but something weird happened. And I remember somebody spoke a word on me that day about Jeremiah. You know, back then I wasn't read. I didn't know a whole lot about the Bible, to be honest. I'd been a Christian over 40 years at that moment, but I didn't know a lot about the Bible. But the Lord said something to Jeremiah. He says, and Jeremiah is speaking this in chapter 1. Before I formed you in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee as a prophet unto the nations. Who has God called you to be today? See, when I say we're going to operate from abundance, that means that it doesn't matter what happens in our life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the tragedies that we experience. See, because I guarantee you, if we stay in the tragedy, if we stay in the hardship, if we stay in the problem, if we stay in the challenge, if we stay in all the stuff that's happening in our life, then we just stay there and we won't live in the abundance. We won't allow God to do the thing that He's really trying to do in us. Yesterday, when I was talking about Dr. Miles and how Dr. Miles, he had so much going on, but yet his life was cut short at 60. Cut short. Why was his life cut short? I can guarantee you his son and daughter was not happy. They lost mom and dad on one day. And then there were 7 other people that lost mothers or fathers and friends and relatives on that plane that crashed. Why does so a lot of times, well, God, well, why would you do something like this? Operate from the abundance. Operate from the fact that they lived those years. Operate from the fact that, hey, Dr. Miles did something that no man would do. Not saying no man can do something greater or no man can come up out of what he's done, because I've been raised up from the abundance of Dr. Miles. See, when we operate from the abundance, we don't look at life how life is. We look at life as how life could be. That's how we wake up. Like as I'm sleeping in the 4:00 hour, and God is sending me a text message to say, I hear you, son. I hear you, son. I hear you, son. See, God sends us messages all the time. The question I have for you today is, are you listening? Are you hearing? See, because apparently, as I read the story of Jeremiah, as I look at the life that God has put me in, He's given me, He's allowed me to operate in. See, whether or not, sometimes you just got to say, you know what, whether or not certain things happen in my life, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of like Dr. King, Dr. Martin Luther King. He says, I've been to the mountaintop, and it doesn't matter what happens to my life. See, Dr. King was probably reading the Word of God, and he read in the Word of God. He says in Matthew 6, starting in verse 25. What does it say? It says, don't worry about your life. Give up your life. Don't worry about what you will eat. Don't worry about what you will drink. Don't worry about what you will wear, or don't worry about where you're going to live. Don't worry about any of those things. All the pagans, they worry about all those things, but not you. See, when we operate from the abundance, no matter what's happening, No matter what circumstances and challenges we face. I'm gonna tell you, I'm facing big challenges right now, huge challenges. But yet, and that's why I was crying out this morning, Lord, come on now. I mean, you know me, and I'm telling you, some days I want to quit. I'm just saying, I'm letting you know I'm human. Some days I don't want to do this because I'm like, Lord, I mean, I got to keep doing this. And he says, yeah, you just got to keep doing this. This is seeking first the kingdom. This is a major part of your assignment. Just keep doing it for the rest of your life. Don't ever stop. What? When I hear people talk about, yeah, I'm just looking for the retirement date, and it's like, ugh, like, Lord, let me not ever retire from anything. Even the business that I am, I don't want to retire from that. Now, I mean, there's certain things that I'm retiring from now, meaning doing certain parts of the business. But being in the business, no, not to retire, because it's the people. It's the people that we work and help. It's the people that we help. See, when we operate from an abundance, you should think about, what is abundance? More than enough. When we operate from the fact that, hey, I've lived how many tens of thousands of days already. I've lived 51 years. I've lived probably millions of seconds. I've lived. Think about that. I've lived in an abundant life. If my life was cut short, was it not abundant? Yeah. Whatever God gives us is abundant. So look, it's Monday. And a lot of times, Monday, I've never coined, we're going to do Monday motivation. I guess most of this could be inspiring to you. Hopefully you're catching the word of God as I'm inserting it, because I'm not here to just try and motivate you. That's why I don't call it motivation. There is inspiration here, because I'm using the inspired word to fuel the message. I didn't always feel the message. I didn't always do that because I was motivated to do it. Now that I'm inspired, what does inspired mean? In spirit. That means I'm in the spirit of the thing that is within me. So I'm using the abundant part of my life. That's unmeasurable. It's unmeasurable. Where did it come from? Jay, did you go to school to learn how to deliver? No, I haven't gone to school. See, and that's the inverted way of learning today. When we operate from the fact that, I already possess what I need to go to the next level, to do, to be, and to have what it is that I can already have. I don't have to do anything else. You may have to read more. You got to self-educate. But that's the inverted method. We've been indoctrinated to believe that we're not enough. I'm here to tell you today, you have enough right now. If you took exactly what you have an abundant life to do more than you can ever imagine. Ephesians, I love that text. God can do exceedingly abundantly more than you can ask or imagine through the power in spirit that's already working in you. So if you're going to live from an abundance, it's to realize that if all you got was today, it would be enough. So every day when we wake up and we say, man, I got another day. I got another day. When we see, listen to this now. When we see someone's life get cut short, because we're going to see that in our lifetime. When we see it, they had an abundance. They had an abundance of the life that they got. Whether it's tragic, whether it's through sickness, whether it's through, long life, they had an abundance. Every day, every moment, every second is the abundance. So as we operate from this level of abundance, let's just realize that it doesn't matter what else we get. It's what we have right now that matters. And if you've got some time today, If you got some time today, look at what you've already accomplished in your life. And don't say you haven't accomplished anything. You've already accomplished much. Take that as your springboard. And every day say, man, God can do exceedingly, abundantly more than I can ask for or imagine through the power, through the Spirit already working in me. That's your charge today. Get out there, live that, and go back. Study yourself. Allow the Word of God to transform you from the inside so that this abundance can come out, so that people can see where you are, so that they can ask questions about how you got there, and so that you can continue to show them through the Word how God inspired you to become the person that you were created to be. God bless you guys. I appreciate you for joining me on this episode of the Account for Life podcast. Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for life. God bless. I'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.